Hello, incredible English learners, and a very warm welcome back to the English in Fluency channel. I'm your host, Alex, and I am absolutely thrilled you've chosen to spend some time with me today. Whether you're on your morning commute, unwinding after a busy day, or simply carving out a moment for self-improvement, thank you for being here. Your dedication to mastering English truly inspires me, and I'm deeply committed to guiding you every step of the way. Today, we're tackling a challenge that resonates with so many of you. A hurdle that often feels like a secret struggle, despite all your hard work. Have you ever found yourself in this situation? You can effortlessly read complex English articles, follow podcasts with ease, and understand nearly every word in a movie. But when it comes to speaking, your mind goes blank, your mouth feels dry, and the words simply refuse to come out? You know the vocabulary, you grasp the grammar, but the transition from understanding to active, confident speech feels like an insurmountable wall. If that sounds familiar, if you've ever thought, "I understand English, but I just can't speak it," then you are absolutely not alone. This is an incredibly common, yet deeply frustrating experience for English learners worldwide. It can leave you feeling stuck, questioning your progress, and perhaps even doubting your true potential. But I want to reassure you, right here and right now, understanding English is an enormous achievement. It signifies that you've already laid a remarkably solid foundation. The next crucial step isn't about more understanding, it's about transforming that existing knowledge into spontaneous, confident, and natural speech. And here's the truly good news. With the right strategies, a shift in mindset, and consistent practice, you can absolutely conquer this challenge. In this episode, we're going to embark on a deep dive into why this disconnect between comprehension and production happens. I'll share profound insights into the underlying reasons behind this common struggle. And more importantly, I'll equip you with simple, yet immensely powerful, practical tips that you can implement immediately to unlock your speaking potential. Whether you're learning English for career advancement, exciting international travel, deeper cultural connections, or simply to express your authentic self, this podcast is for you. By the end of our time together, you won't just feel more confident about speaking English. You'll have a clear, actionable plan to make tangible progress every single day. So, if you've ever felt that frustrating gap between what you know and what you can say, then stay tuned. We're about to turn that frustration into focused action and elevate your speaking skills to an entirely new level. Let's begin this transformative journey. To truly illustrate this common challenge, allow me to share a story about a dear friend of mine, Sarah, who navigated this exact hurdle. Sarah was, and still is, an extraordinary student. For many years, she dedicated herself to learning English, meticulously building a profound understanding of grammar, amassing an impressive vocabulary, and developing excellent reading comprehension. She could devour English novels, watch films, without needing subtitles, and understand virtually every nuance of spoken English around her. But when it came to actually speaking, that's where her confidence evaporated, and her abilities seemed to vanish. I recall a day we decided to meet at a cozy cafe. Sarah was excited about the idea of practicing her English, so I suggested a simple challenge. Let's order our coffees entirely in English. She enthusiastically agreed. But when the barista turned to her, pen poised, ready to take her order. A sudden and palpable silence descended. Sarah froze. Her eyes darted from the menu to the barista, her mouth went dry, and despite the words forming perfectly in her mind, they simply wouldn't cross her lips. It was as if a mental block had jammed her vocal cords. She could hear herself forming the sentences internally, but the bridge to outward expression had collapsed. I could see the immense frustration and self-consciousness etched on her face. Gently, I asked, "Sarah, what's going on? Why don't you just say it?" Sarah looked at me, a mix of despair and embarrassment in her eyes. She whispered, "Alex, I know what I want to say. I understand everything you're saying, everything the barista just said. But when it's my turn to speak, I get so nervous. I'm terrified I'll make a mistake, or that I won't sound good enough." This, my friends, is an incredibly common sentiment among learners who have diligently dedicated countless hours to passively studying English, but have had limited opportunities for active speaking practice. For Sarah, it wasn't a lack of knowledge, it was an overwhelming fear of imperfection. She didn't want to sound wrong or unpolished. Her deep-seated fear of making errors was a formidable barrier, holding her back from leveraging the incredible understanding she already possessed. Now, I know what many of you are probably thinking. I've been in Sarah's shoes. Perhaps you too have spent years immersed in textbooks and audio, and you can understand almost everything thrown your way. But when the spotlight shifts to you, and it's your turn to express yourself, you seize up. The frustration is palpable. You yearn to communicate clearly, but a paralyzing worry about how you'll sound, or what others might think, silences you. I want to remind you, with absolute certainty, that these feelings are completely normal. You are far from alone in this. In fact, I've engaged in countless conversations with learners from all proficiency levels, including many advanced students, who confess to facing this very issue. They can understand complex concepts with ease, but the act of speaking feels like an unscalable mountain. I've personally experienced moments like this myself, feeling utterly stuck when the moment came to articulate a thought. For Sarah, overcoming this fear wasn't an overnight revelation. It required time, immense patience, and, crucially, a profound shift in her mindset. One of the most liberating realizations that helped her was embracing the simple, undeniable truth. Making mistakes is not a sign of failure. It is an indispensable part of the learning process. Every stumble, every mispronounced word, every grammatical error became a valuable lesson, a stepping stone forward. She began practicing with me, starting with simple sentences, even when she wasn't entirely sure if they were flawless. Slowly, incrementally, her confidence began to blossom. Over time, Sarah actively sought out more speaking opportunities. She joined a local English-speaking club, a supportive community where learners gathered specifically to practice in a low-pressure environment. She even started initiating conversations with strangers in English, gradually shedding her inhibitions. It wasn't about achieving perfection. It was about the consistent act of practicing, embracing the mistakes as data points, and learning from every single interaction. Today, Sarah stands as one of the most confident and articulate English speakers I know. She travels the globe, effortlessly connects with people from diverse backgrounds, and has powerfully leveraged English to build a thriving career. Looking back, she often remarks that the single most important change she made was shifting her internal focus from being perfect to simply just speaking. The more she practiced, the more natural and automatic her speech became. She fundamentally realized that speaking is, at its core, about communication, not flawless perfection. I share Sarah's story because it perfectly encapsulates the common experience of understanding English but struggling to speak it. This is, without a doubt, one of the most prevalent challenges for English learners. But just like Sarah, you absolutely can overcome this obstacle. It demands practice, unwavering patience, and a courageous willingness to make mistakes. The more you immerse yourself in active speaking, the more comfortable and spontaneous your expression will become. And one day, you will discover that speaking English flows as effortlessly as understanding it. If you're someone who understands English but consistently struggles to speak, you might be constantly wondering, why? Why is this happening to me? It's a deeply frustrating feeling, especially because you know you've put in the immense effort. You've diligently learned the vocabulary, you've grasped the grammar rules, and you can navigate reading and listening without much trouble. Yet, when it's your turn to speak, the words seem to get jammed, or you simply can't articulate your thoughts with the fluidity you desire. The truth is, this is a very common experience for language learners, and it happens for a few distinct, yet interconnected, reasons. Let's delve into some of the main factors that explain why understanding English and actively speaking it don't always go hand in hand. 1. Lack of active speaking practice, the unused muscle. One of the most significant and often overlooked reasons why many learners struggle to speak, even with strong comprehension, is quite simply the lack of active speaking practice. Think of speaking as a skill, much like playing a musical instrument or riding a bicycle. It's a productive skill that needs to be actively engaged and practiced regularly to improve. The disconnect. Most learners dedicate significant time to passive skills like reading and listening, and to analytical skills like grammar study. These are undoubtedly crucial for building foundational knowledge. However, they don't directly train your brain and mouth for the rapid, real-time production required for speaking. Real-time demands. Speaking demands that you retrieve words, construct sentences, and respond spontaneously, often under time pressure. Unlike listening, where you have the luxury of processing at your own pace, speaking forces you to think on the spot. If you haven't exercised this muscle, it will naturally feel overwhelming and sluggish. Building automaticity. The more you speak, the more those connections in your brain become automatic. If you only practice speaking sporadically, you'll likely experience that freezing up sensation. But if you integrate speaking into your daily routine, even for short bursts, you'll find that it becomes progressively easier and more natural, flowing without conscious effort. 2. Fear of making mistakes. The perfectionist's trap. Another powerful reason many learners hesitate to speak, despite their understanding, is the deeply ingrained fear of making mistakes. This fear is often the primary force holding us back from engaging in the very practice we need. The worry. We might worry about grammatical errors, mispronouncing a word, saying something culturally inappropriate, or simply sounding less than perfect. The thought of potential embarrassment can be paralyzing. The reality of learning. But here's the crucial insight. Making mistakes is not a sign of failure. It is an integral and essential part of the learning process. Every single learner, including native speakers learning their first language, makes mistakes. It is through these errors that we identify gaps in our knowledge, receive feedback, and ultimately grow. Embracing imperfection. If you allow the fear of imperfection to silence you, you deprive yourself of invaluable learning opportunities. The key is to shift your perspective. View mistakes not as embarrassing failures, but as valuable data points, as stepping stones on your path to fluency. No one expects you to speak perfectly. In fact, the more mistakes you bravely make, the faster you'll improve. 3. Lack of confidence, the internal barrier. Sometimes, even when we possess the linguistic knowledge, a pervasive lack of confidence prevents us from speaking. Confidence plays an enormous role in effective communication. If we don't feel self-assured, we're far more likely to hesitate, avoid speaking opportunities, or simply retreat into silence. Roots of doubt. This lack of confidence often stems from self-doubt. Perhaps we compare ourselves unfavorably to native speakers or even other advanced learners. We might internalize the belief that our speaking skills aren't good enough. Breaking the cycle. This self-imposed barrier can be incredibly restrictive. Building speaking confidence takes time and consistent practice, but one of the most effective starting points is to actively change your mindset. Remind yourself, the ultimate goal is not to sound perfect, but to communicate your ideas, express yourself, and make genuine connections with others. Every small step outside your comfort zone, every brief conversation, contributes to a growing reservoir of confidence. 4th, speaking speed and fluency issues. The processing gap. Even with good comprehension, many English learners find speaking difficult due to challenges with speaking speed and fluency. They might understand the language perfectly when listening, but when attempting to speak, they struggle to find the right words quickly enough or to form sentences smoothly without excessive pauses. Beyond knowledge. Speaking a language isn't just about knowing vocabulary or grammar rules, it's about the lightning-fast retrieval of those words and the instantaneous application of those rules in real time. This demands significant practice and the development of muscle memory for your brain. Passive versus active. Recall, if you primarily focus on passive skills like listening and reading, your brain practices recognizing words and structures, but not actively recalling and producing them under pressure. This leads to a delay when you need to speak. Building speed. Your speaking speed and fluency improve directly with practice. It's about building that efficient mental connection between your stored knowledge and your ability to articulate it quickly and naturally. Consistent, active production is the only way to bridge this gap. 5. Fear of communication. Break down the misunderstanding monster. Finally, some learners are paralyzed by the fear of communication breakdown. They worry intensely that their listener won't understand them due to their accent, grammatical errors, or awkward sentence structure. The perception versus reality. This fear can cause immense hesitation and lead learners to actively avoid situations where they might need to use English. However, it's vital to recognize that true communication is not about speaking perfectly. It's about successfully conveying your message. Effort is appreciated. As long as your listener understands the core of what you're trying to say, the conversation is a success. Most native speakers genuinely appreciate the effort you're making to speak their language and are understanding of mistakes or accents. focusing too much on perfection can be counterproductive. Embracing the real, imperfect nature of communication will liberate your speaking. 6. Limited vocabulary recall. Active versus passive. The word on the tip of your tongue. When you understand English but struggle to speak it, it could also be due to a disparity in your vocabulary recall, specifically between passive vocabulary, words you recognize when you hear or read them, and active vocabulary, words you can readily produce in speech. The discrepancy. You might know thousands of words when you see them on a page or hear them spoken, but when you need to use them in a conversation, they vanish from your mind, leaving you searching for the right term. The role of speaking. This issue often arises when learners heavily prioritize reading and listening without enough emphasis on active speaking practice, which inherently involves active word recall. Speaking forces your brain to access and retrieve words quickly and apply them in context. Building recall. The more you speak regularly, the more you practice retrieving and using new vocabulary. This repeated active usage strengthens the neural pathways for those words, improving your ability to remember and deploy them rapidly when you need them in a conversation. It transforms your passive knowledge into active, usable language. As you can see, there are numerous, interconnected reasons why you might understand English perfectly, but find yourself struggling when it comes to speaking. Whether it's a lack of consistent active practice, the paralyzing fear of making mistakes, an underlying lack of confidence, issues with real-time fluency, the anxiety of a communication breakdown, or limited vocabulary recall, all of these are incredibly common challenges for learners. But here's the incredibly encouraging news. These challenges are not permanent. With the right strategic approach, unwavering patience, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone, you can absolutely overcome them. And it all begins with this crucial step: understanding why this happens. Once we grasp the root causes behind our struggles, we can then begin to implement targeted actions and find effective solutions. In the very next section, we're going to pivot our focus to one of the most powerful and transformative solutions: why speaking practice is so profoundly important, and how it can help you become not just confident, but truly fluent in English. Now that we've thoroughly explored why many learners understand English but still struggle to speak it, let's turn our attention to the most crucial, dynamic, and transformative solution: consistent, deliberate speaking practice. If your ultimate goal is to become truly fluent and genuinely confident in English, then speaking isn't just a key, it is the key. But why is speaking practice so incredibly crucial? Why is it truly the most powerful catalyst for elevating your speaking skills? 1. Speaking connects. Knowledge to action. Bridging the gap. When you're immersed in English learning, you undoubtedly spend countless hours acquiring grammar rules, expanding your vocabulary, and honing your reading and listening comprehension. These are foundational activities, essential for understanding the language. However, there's a fundamental distinction between understanding a language and actively using it. From theory to application, speaking practice is the bridge that connects the theoretical knowledge stored in your brain to real-life, spontaneous communication. It's akin to taking a driving test after studying the manual. You're applying everything you've learned in a dynamic, active scenario. Real-time retrieval. You might know all the vocabulary for common restaurant items, But when you step into a cafe and need to order in English, you might hesitate if you haven't physically practiced uttering those words. Speaking forces your brain to retrieve vocabulary and grammar rules quickly and automatically when they're needed most. Building neural pathways. The more you speak, the faster and more efficient your brain becomes at recalling words, seamlessly forming sentences, and ultimately thinking directly in English. This continuous active engagement solidifies your understanding of English, making your knowledge not just passive information, but a practical, readily accessible tool for genuine, real-world interactions. 2. Speaking practice builds unshakable confidence, beyond just knowing. One of the most significant and often paralyzing obstacles to speaking English is a lack of confidence. As we discussed earlier, learners often possess the linguistic knowledge, but lack the self-assurance to actually articulate it. Confidence through action. The profound truth is that confidence doesn't magically appear overnight. It is meticulously built through consistent practice and gradual exposure. Speaking regularly, even for just a few minutes a day, familiarizes you with the sound of your own voice in English. You get used to the occasional mistake and learn to receive feedback without taking it personally. Normalizing imperfection. The more you practice, the more you realize that making mistakes is not something to be feared or ashamed of. It's a completely normal, natural, and necessary part of the learning process. With each attempt, with each stumble, you become more resilient and more confident in your inherent ability to communicate in English. Stepping outside your comfort zone. If you never practice speaking, you'll remain perpetually within your comfort zone, never truly pushing your boundaries. Even brief daily speaking sessions will gradually nudge you beyond that zone, systematically building your confidence. The more you expose yourself to genuine conversations and authentic situations, the more naturally self-assured you will become in your English-speaking abilities. 3. Speaking helps you think directly in English. Eliminating the translation. Lag, one of the most profound and liberating outcomes of consistent speaking practice, is its ability to help you think directly in English. Many learners, especially at the beginner and intermediate levels, habitually think in their native language first, then meticulously translate their thoughts into English before speaking. This translation middleman drastically slows down your response time and makes fluent speech feel incredibly arduous. Bypassing translation. When you practice speaking regularly, you actively train your brain to bypass this translation step. Instead of converting word for word, you begin to grasp the inherent structure and rhythm of English, forming sentences more rapidly and instinctively. This is precisely what truly fluent speakers do. Their thoughts naturally flow in English, not in their native tongue. Achieving automaticity. To reach this level of automaticity, consistent, dedicated speaking practice is indispensable. You need to speak so frequently that it becomes second nature, an unconscious process. The more you engage in active conversation, the more your brain will automatically switch to thinking in English, which in turn will dramatically increase your speaking speed and make your delivery sound far more natural and effortless. 4. Speaking practice. Dramatically improves pronunciation and fluency. The sound of success, pronunciation, and fluency are two critical areas that experience dramatic improvement with consistent speaking practice. If you don't actively practice speaking, your pronunciation may suffer, even if you can read and understand English exceptionally well. Active sound production. Speaking demands a distinct set of skills, particularly concerning the precise production of English sounds, the intricate rhythms of the language, and natural intonation patterns. When you practice speaking, you create invaluable opportunities to focus specifically on your pronunciation. You'll hear your own voice, enabling you to consciously work on improving your accent, fine-tuning the pronunciation of specific challenging sounds, and refining the overall melodic fluency of your speech. This nuanced improvement simply doesn't happen through passive listening or reading alone. It requires active vocal production and careful attention to how words are formed. Effortless flow. Fluency, which means speaking clearly and smoothly without excessive hesitation, also flourishes with speaking practice. When you practice speaking often, you'll distinctly notice that your ability to articulate thoughts without searching for words or pausing awkwardly improves significantly. Ideas will begin to flow more effortlessly, and your speech will become increasingly natural, mirroring the pace and ease of a native speaker. The more you engage in active speaking, the less you'll feel the need to pause and search for words, and the more you'll sound authentically fluent. 5. Speaking practice builds your listening skills, the interconnected dance. It might initially seem counterintuitive, but speaking and listening are not separate skills. They are intimately connected, forming a symbiotic relationship. In fact, consistently practicing speaking can profoundly enhance your listening skills as well. Active listening in action. When you speak English, you are constantly engaged in a dynamic back-and-forth exchange. You must listen meticulously to your conversation partner in order to formulate an appropriate and coherent response. This constant requirement to understand and react actively sharpens your listening comprehension. For instance, in a conversation with a friend or teacher, your ability to understand their immediate response is crucial for continuing the dialogue. This continuous, real-time exchange trains your brain to listen more actively, to pick up on subtle nuances, and to catch specific details in rapid conversations. Exposure to authentic flow. Furthermore, by practicing speaking in real-life scenarios, you naturally become accustomed to the authentic, fluid flow of conversation. You'll hear how native speakers naturally use connected speech, reductions, and intonation, and you'll instinctively adapt to these patterns. This organic exposure deeply improves your listening skills because you're immersed in genuine, unscripted language use, making it easier to decipher real conversations when you're solely listening. 6. Speak in practice. Makes you a better communicator. Beyond just words at its very core, language is fundamentally about communication, the effective exchange of thoughts, ideas, and feelings. When you practice speaking, you don't just improve your ability to say words, you significantly enhance your capacity to communicate effectively. Holistic communication. Communication extends beyond merely speaking clearly. It's equally about understanding the other person's message, interpreting their intent, and responding appropriately and contextually. Speaking practice teaches you how to skillfully navigate conversations, articulate yourself with growing confidence, and intuitively grasp how to interact effectively in diverse situations. It transcends simply knowing individual words. It's about mastering how to use those words strategically in the right context. Practical application. Through consistent speaking practice, you'll naturally learn how to engage in polite small talk, formulate insightful questions, confidently express your opinions, gracefully agree or disagree, and sustain longer, more complex conversations, all of which are absolutely key components of effective communication in any language. 7. Speaking practice helps you achieve your goals. Faster, the accelerated path to fluency. If your ultimate driving goal is to speak English fluently, then consistent speaking practice is unequivocally the fastest and most direct route to get there. Of course, reading, writing, and listening are all indispensable pillars of comprehensive language learning. However, it is in speaking where you will witness the most immediate, tangible, and impactful improvements. Active engagement. When you commit to regular speaking practice, you create real, dynamic opportunities to actively use the language. This hands-on, active usage of English compels your brain to engage with the language in a far deeper way, helping you remember and retain information far more effectively than passive activities like simply listening or reading. Accelerated results. The more you consciously practice speaking, the more rapidly you will see remarkable results. Speaking practice accelerates the entire process of becoming fluent because it forces you to actively produce, synthesize, and engage with the language in real time, solidifying your knowledge and building your confidence with every single interaction. In summary, speaking practice is absolutely crucial for dramatically improving your fluency, building unshakable confidence, refining your pronunciation, and becoming a truly effective communicator. It serves as the vital link connecting your stored knowledge to active application, boosts your self-assurance, trains your brain to think directly in English, sharpens your listening skills, and ultimately helps you achieve your language goals with remarkable speed. If you are genuinely committed to becoming fluent in English, then you must prioritize active speaking practice. But please, don't feel overwhelmed if it seems difficult at first. Just remember this profound truth. The more you speak, the easier, more natural, and more deeply rewarding it will become. In the next section, we'll delve into highly practical, actionable strategies you can begin implementing immediately to practice speaking regularly and seamlessly integrate it into your daily routine. One of the most formidable barriers to actually speaking English, even when you possess a strong understanding, is the pervasive and often paralyzing fear of speaking. It is profoundly natural to feel nervous, anxious, or even a sense of dread when attempting to speak a new language, especially when you're acutely aware of the potential for mistakes or the fear of being judged. However, it is paramount that this fear does not and will not stop you from practicing and ultimately improving your speaking skills. The liberating truth is that virtually every single English learner navigates through this exact stage, and it is, without a doubt, a challenge that can be definitively overcome. 1. Understand that fear is normal and a sign of growth. First and foremost, you absolutely need to internalize this powerful truth. The fear you're experiencing is perfectly normal and entirely justified. Almost everyone who learns a second language feels this exact way. Whether it's the fear of grammatical errors, sounding awkward or strange, mispronunciation, or simply being misunderstood, these feelings are an intrinsic, unavoidable part of the learning process. Even highly experienced language learners, and sometimes even native speakers in unfamiliar or high-stakes situations, experience anxiety. Embrace it. Instead of resisting or focusing intensely on the fear, consciously embrace it as a natural, expected part of your journey. Recognize that this fear is a profound sign of growth. It indicates that you are actively pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone, and this is precisely where true improvement happens. The discomfort you feel today is simply a powerful signal that you are challenging yourself, which is an undeniably good thing. Every single time you push through this fear, even in the smallest way, you take a monumental step closer to fluency. 2. Shift your focus from perfection to progress. One of the most profound reasons many people are afraid to speak English is their overwhelming desire to speak perfectly. We all naturally want to avoid mistakes, especially when we're speaking in front of others. But here's the liberating secret. Perfection is not the goal. Consistent progress is. Liberation through imperfection. Instead of aiming for flawless delivery, focus wholeheartedly on making incremental progress. Speak as much as you possibly can, even if you know you're making mistakes. Mistakes are not just a natural part of the learning process. They are absolutely essential for growth. When you courageously allow yourself to make mistakes, you instantly free yourself from the debilitating pressure of speaking perfectly, which in turn dramatically reduces your fear. The human element. Remember, no one speaks perfectly all the time, even in their native language. Embrace your humanity. Allow yourself to make errors, learn valuable lessons from them, and consistently keep moving forward. This fundamental shift in mindset will make you feel significantly more comfortable and confident when speaking. 3. Start small and build confidence. Gradually, the fear of speaking can feel incredibly overwhelming if you attempt to tackle too much too soon. Instead of attempting to jump straight into a lengthy, complex conversation with the native speaker, begin by taking manageable, bite-sized steps. Practice speaking in low-pressure situations that allow you to build your confidence gradually and sustainably. Solo practice. You could begin by simply speaking to yourself in English. For instance, try narrating your daily activities aloud, describing the objects around you, or articulate your thoughts and feelings in English. This simple, private exercise helps you get accustomed to hearing your own voice in English and makes the act of speaking feel more natural and less intimidating. Supportive partners. You can also practice with a friend or a dedicated language partner who is genuinely supportive, patient, and understands that you are still learning. If you're not yet comfortable speaking with a native speaker, practicing with someone at a similar learning level can provide a safe, non-judgmental space to build your confidence. Shadowing and repetition. Another fantastic way to start is by actively repeating sentences or phrases you hear in movies, TV shows, or podcasts. This practice, known as shadowing, helps you internalize the correct pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm of the language while simultaneously building your confidence as you actively hear yourself producing accurate English sounds. Use positive affirmations to reframe your mindset. One of the most effective and powerful ways to conquer fear is by consciously changing your inner dialogue. Positive affirmations can be an incredibly potent tool for this transformation. Rewiring your thoughts. Instead of dwelling on the fear or allowing negative thoughts like, "I can't speak English," to dominate, actively replace those thoughts with positive Empowering statements such as, "I am improving every day. It's okay to make mistakes. They help me learn." Or, "I am capable of expressing myself in English." Daily practice. Repeat these affirmations to yourself in the morning, before speaking practice sessions, or whenever you feel anxiety creeping in. This consistent mental training will gradually rewire your mind to perceive speaking English as an exciting opportunity for growth, rather than a daunting task to be feared. The more you truly believe in your ability to improve, the less fear you will experience. Focus on the goal. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep practicing. Think deeply about why you're learning English in the first place. To open up incredible opportunities. To communicate authentically with people from around the world. To enhance your personal and professional life. Motivation. Over fear. When you vividly remember your compelling reasons for learning English, the fear of speaking begins to feel insignificant. You are doing this for yourself, and fear is merely an obstacle that will only hold you back. Push through it. Remind yourself of the extraordinary doors that speaking English will unlock for you. Doors that are absolutely worth facing your fears to open. Overcoming the fear of speaking English is a universal experience for learners, but with consistent effort, unwavering patience, and a willingness to embrace mistakes, it absolutely becomes easier. By understanding that fear is normal, focusing on tangible progress instead of elusive perfection, starting with small, manageable steps, using positive affirmations, creating supportive environments for practice, learning from feedback, establishing a regular routine, and keeping your ultimate goals in sight, you can truly conquer your fear and emerge as a much more confident English speaker. Remember, speaking is not just about saying the right words. It's about courageously practicing, consistently improving, and ultimately, finding joy in the process of becoming fluent. Keep going, and never allow fear to hold you back. Improving your English speaking skills requires a blend of consistent practice, unwavering patience, and a well-structured, actionable strategy. If you currently understand English proficiently, but still find it challenging to speak, take comfort in knowing this is a remarkably common obstacle. Fortunately, there are highly practical and effective tips you can implement right away to dismantle this barrier and dramatically enhance your speaking abilities. 1. Speak English. Every single day, even if it's just a little. One of the single most effective, yet often underestimated ways to improve your speaking is to make it a daily, non-negotiable habit. Try to speak in English every single day, even if it's for just 5 to 10 minutes. The more frequently you engage your vocal cords and brain in active production, the more natural and automatic the process will become. Solo practice power. You don't need a conversation partner for this. Simply talking to yourself, describing what you're doing as you do it, e.g., "I am making coffee. Now I'm putting on my shoes," or narrating your thoughts in English can create powerful neural pathways. Start small and consistent. Begin with micro moments. In the morning, describe the weather, your plans for the day, or how you're feeling. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it will immensely help you get used to forming sentences and vocalizing in English. The undisputed key here is consistency, not duration. 2. Find a language partner or conversation buddy. The power of interaction. Having a dedicated language partner or a supportive conversation buddy is arguably one of the most effective and enjoyable ways to practice speaking regularly. Mutual benefit. This could be a friend, a family member, or someone you connect with online who is also learning English or fluent in it. A language exchange is particularly effective because both parties get the invaluable chance to speak and help each other. You can take turns speaking in English and your partner's native language, creating a true two-way learning experience. Online platforms. If you don't have someone to speak with in person, countless online platforms like Italki, Tandem, or HelloTalk allow you to connect with other learners and native speakers globally. Choose someone who is patient, encouraging, and understands that you're in the learning process. This will make your practice sessions far more enjoyable and significantly less stressful. 3. Listen and actively repeat. Shadowing. Imitate native speakers for natural flow. Listening and then actively repeating what you hear is an incredibly powerful technique to internalize natural speech patterns and improve your own delivery. Mimicry for mastery. Watch TV shows, movies, or listen intently to podcasts in English. Then, consciously try to imitate the speaker. Pay meticulous attention to how they pronounce words, their intonation, the rise and fall of their voice, and the overall rhythm of their speech. By closely copying their delivery, you'll instinctively start to sound more natural. Pause and repeat. You can even pause the video or audio and directly try to repeat what was just said. This direct imitation helps you practice accurate pronunciation and makes the act of speaking feel more automatic. Shadowing technique. Shadowing is a highly effective variation where you repeat the words immediately after hearing them, almost like an echo. This technique not only helps profoundly with pronunciation and intonation, but also dramatically improves your speaking fluency by training your brain and mouth to keep pace with natural speech. 4. Expand your active vocabulary. Beyond passive recognition, having a robust and actively accessible vocabulary is absolutely crucial for speaking fluently and expressing yourself precisely. The more words you can readily recall, the easier it becomes to articulate your thoughts in diverse situations. Learn phrases, not just words. Instead of just memorizing isolated words, strive to learn chunks of language, phrases, collocations, and expressions that are commonly used in everyday conversations. For example, instead of just learning happy, learn expressions like feeling on top of the world or over the moon. These idiomatic phrases will make you sound infinitely more natural and allow you to express your feelings with greater nuance. Active application. To truly expand your active vocabulary, immerse yourself in English content, reading books, listening to podcasts, watching videos. When you encounter a new word or phrase, make a conscious effort to write it down, perhaps in a dedicated notebook or flashcard app, and, crucially, actively use it in your own speaking practice as soon as possible. It's the active usage that solidifies words into your productive vocabulary. 5. Record yourself. Speaking, your personal feedback loop. Recording yourself speaking can be a truly eye-opening and transformative experience. It provides an objective look at your own pronunciation, tone, rhythm, and overall fluency. Self-correction. When you listen back to your recording, you can dispassionately notice areas where you need improvement, perhaps a persistent mispronunciation, an awkward pause, or a repetitive filler word. Practice routine. You can start by simply reading aloud from a script, narrating your day, or speaking extemporaneously about a familiar topic for a few minutes. Afterward, listen critically to the recording and identify specific areas for correction. Don't be afraid to re-record yourself several times until you're satisfied. Over time, you'll undoubtedly notice remarkable improvements in your speaking ability. 6. Think directly in English. Eliminate the translation bottleneck. Thinking directly in English is an absolutely essential skill for achieving true fluency. Many learners, when preparing to speak, unconsciously translate what they want to say from their native language into English. This internal translation process significantly slows down your speaking and causes frustrating hesitations as your brain searches for the right words. Bypass the middleman. Instead, consciously try to think directly in English. When you encounter a situation where you need to speak, or even when you're just thinking to yourself, actively try to form your thoughts and speak them directly in English. This vital practice will help you respond more quickly and naturally. Embrace simplicity. If you're unsure of a specific word or phrase, don't let it paralyze you. Be courageous and use simpler words, or try to explain what you mean in a different way. Remember, the primary goal is effective communication, not flawless perfection. 7. Use language learning apps. Strategically, your digital practice partner. Language learning apps can be a fantastic supplementary tool for practicing specific aspects of speaking, especially for structured practice. Targeted exercises. Apps like Duolingo, Rosetta Stone, and Babbel offer dedicated speaking exercises that can help you practice pronunciation, perfect sentence structure, and build quick recall. Many apps now incorporate sophisticated speech recognition features that provide immediate feedback on your pronunciation, helping you fine-tune your sounds. Balance with real interaction. While these apps are incredibly helpful for drilling specific elements of speaking, like isolated words or basic phrases, it's crucial to balance their use with real-life conversation practice. Apps excel at learning vocabulary and foundational grammar, but actual, spontaneous interaction with other humans is indispensable for developing true fluency, adaptability, and confidence in dynamic conversations. 8. Practice speaking slowly and clearly. Prioritize clarity over speed. Many learners feel immense pressure to speak quickly, mistakenly believing that speed equates to fluency. However, rushing your speech can often make it harder to communicate clearly and effectively. Clarity first. Instead of prioritizing speed, focus intently on speaking slowly and clearly. This deliberate pace will give your brain valuable time to think about what you want to say, retrieve the appropriate vocabulary, and construct coherent sentences. It also ensures that your words are fully understood by your listener. Pronunciation. Focus. Speaking slowly also allows you to consciously concentrate on your pronunciation, articulation, and intonation, making your speech more accurate and easier for others to comprehend. When you speak at a comfortable, measured pace, you'll also experience significantly less stress and anxiety. 9. Join speaking clubs or groups, community and low-pressure practice. Engaging with a community of fellow learners is an excellent way to build confidence and get regular speaking practice. Supportive environments. Many cities and online platforms offer language clubs or informal groups where learners can practice speaking with others. These groups are often designed to be informal, supportive environments where everyone shares the common goal of improving their English. Diverse exposure. Joining such a group provides you with consistent opportunities to practice speaking in a relaxed setting. Expose yourself to different accents and speaking styles, and gain valuable feedback in a non-judgmental atmosphere. Some organizations even offer structured public speaking workshops specifically for language learners, providing a safe space to practice speaking in front of a larger audience. Be patient and stay relentlessly motivated. The long game of fluency. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, developing strong speaking skills takes time, consistent effort, and unwavering patience. It's crucial not to get discouraged if you don't see immediate, dramatic results. Remember that improvement happens gradually, through consistent effort. Celebrate small wins, stay patient with yourself, and consciously celebrate every small success along the way. Whether it's successfully speaking a full sentence without hesitation, accurately expressing a complex thought, or simply making yourself understood during a conversation, these small victories accumulate and fuel your motivation. Reconnect with your why. To stay motivated during challenging moments, regularly remind yourself of why you embarked on this journey of learning English. Whether it's to travel the world, secure a better job, connect with new people, or consume media directly, keeping your compelling goals firmly in mind will help you stay committed to your practice. Consistency is key. Consistency is the undisputed key. Keep practicing regularly, trust in the process, and believe that progress will undoubtedly come. The more you speak, the easier and more natural it will become. Don't ever allow fear or hesitation to hold you back. Keep speaking, keep practicing, and you will become a more confident and fluent English speaker. Listening and speaking are not isolated skills. They are, in fact, two inextricably linked sides of the same linguistic coin. In the journey of language acquisition, improving one skill almost invariably has a direct and profound impact on the other. Many learners, despite their best efforts, struggle with speaking because they don't fully grasp this symbiotic connection between listening and speaking. However, once you truly understand how these skills work in tandem, you can strategically leverage that insight to accelerate your improvement in both. The indispensable role of listening for speaking. When we speak, we are essentially producing sounds, words, and sentences that we have consciously or unconsciously absorbed through listening. This fundamental truth underscores why listening is such an utterly crucial prerequisite for learning to speak naturally and fluently. The more you immerse yourself in authentic English speech, listening to native speakers or highly fluent English speakers, the more you will organically absorb essential patterns, accurate pronunciation, nuanced intonation, and practical vocabulary in context. Learning correct pronunciation and intonation. Listening trains your ear to recognize the precise sounds, the stress patterns, the rhythm, and the overall musicality, intonation, of the English language. By attentively listening to how native speakers articulate words, string sentences together, and use rising or falling tones, you can then consciously imitate their delivery. This mimicry is vital for developing natural-sounding speech and ensures your message is conveyed with the intended emotion and clarity. Understanding natural sentence structure, grammar in action. Listening to English in real life, natural contexts allows you to observe firsthand how words and sentences are organically arranged. You'll hear grammar applied spontaneously, rather than as isolated rules in a textbook. This passive absorption helps you internalize correct sentence structures, enabling you to form your own sentences in a way that sounds intuitive and makes immediate sense to native speakers. Building a usable vocabulary, passive to active. The more you actively listen to diverse English content, the greater your exposure to a vast array of vocabulary. You'll repeatedly hear common phrases, idiomatic expressions, and specific words used in various contexts. This consistent exposure is critical for expanding your active vocabulary, the words you can readily recall and use when speaking, giving you a much wider range of linguistic tools to express yourself effectively. Understanding cultural nuances and pragmatics. Listening to native speakers helps you pick up on more than just words. You'll learn about culture-specific phrases, common idioms, conversational fillers, and pragmatic expressions that are deeply embedded in the language. Knowing these non-literal phrases will not only make you sound more natural, but will also significantly enhance your ability to understand and participate meaningfully in conversations with native speakers. The feedback loop between listening and speaking. Listening and speaking are not linear processes. They are deeply intertwined components of a powerful feedback loop that constantly refines your fluency. Here's how this dynamic loop works. Input, listening. When you listen to English, your brain processes how words are structured, how sentences are formed, and crucially, how individual sounds and words are linked together in rapid, natural speech, connected speech. Output, speaking. Then, when you attempt to speak, you actively apply what you've absorbed from your listening experiences. You try to mimic the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm you've heard. Reinforcement and refinement. As you continue practicing speaking, you are constantly reinforcing the patterns you've heard. The more you listen and speak, the more efficiently your brain processes the language, leading to continuous improvement in both skills. For example, after listening to a captivating podcast or a compelling conversation in English, try to actively repeat what you've heard. You can even record yourself and compare your rendition with the original recording. This practice allows you to precisely identify any discrepancies in your pronunciation, intonation, or rhythm. It also helps you pinpoint which words or sounds require more focused attention for future improvement. The role of listening in achieving fluency. Fluency in speaking doesn't simply equate to speaking quickly. It means being able to articulate your thoughts clearly, smoothly, and without excessive pausing or hesitation. Listening plays an absolutely massive role in achieving this natural fluidity because it helps you become intimately familiar with how the language flows in real time. Mastering natural flow and connected speech. When you regularly listen to natural conversations, you'll keenly observe that native speakers often use short, concise phrases rather than long, overly complicated sentences. Crucially, they also link words together seamlessly, a phenomenon known as connected speech. For instance, instead of meticulously saying, "Do you want to go to the park?" a native speaker might effortlessly blend it into something that sounds like, "Do you want to go to the park?" This is an inherent characteristic of natural, fluent speech. By regularly exposing yourself to and actively listening for these patterns, you will instinctively start to mimic them in your own speech. enabling you to speak more naturally without consciously overthinking grammar or structure. Over time, you will find yourself speaking with far greater ease, without worrying about every technical detail. How listening helps you overcome speaking barriers. One of the most significant psychological obstacles learners face is the deeply ingrained fear of making mistakes while speaking. However, if you consistently listen to native speakers or highly fluent individuals, you will quickly realize that occasional errors, hesitations, and self-corrections are a perfectly normal part of communication. Everyone makes them, even native speakers. This critical understanding can profoundly reduce your anxiety and diminish your fear when it's your turn to speak. Normalizing imperfection. When you listen to real conversations in English, pay close attention to how speakers don't excessively worry about making minor mistakes. They often fix small errors effortlessly, without interrupting the natural flow of their conversation. This observation makes the act of speaking feel far more relaxed and less intimidating. So, if you happen to make a mistake, don't let it paralyze you or stop you from continuing the conversation. Remember, listening to authentic conversations helps you become more comfortable with the organic, often imperfect, nature of real communication. And through this immersion, you will gradually overcome your fear of speaking. Developing listening skills for speaking improvement. To effectively leverage listening as a powerful tool to enhance your speaking, you must first cultivate robust listening skills. Here are some actionable tips for refining your listening, which will, in turn, directly contribute to your speaking fluency. Listen to a wide variety of content. It is paramount to expose yourself to a diverse range of accents, tones, speaking speeds, and content types. Watch movies, listen to podcasts on various subjects, engage with news reports, and consume different forms of media in English. By listening to varied content, you will train your brain to understand English in a multitude of real-world contexts. For example, understanding a casual conversation is distinct from comprehending a formal news report, so practicing both will make you a more versatile listener. Start with slower, accessible content. If you are just embarking on your listening journey or find yourself struggling with rapid speech, begin by conscientiously listening to slower-paced content specifically designed for learners. There's an abundance of podcasts, audiobooks, and YouTube videos meticulously crafted for English learners. These resources will help you internalize the fundamental structure, common vocabulary, and basic rhythms of English. As your comprehension steadily improves, you can progressively transition to faster, more complex content, such as native-level podcasts, films, and documentaries. Utilize subtitles or transcripts strategically. When you listen to videos or podcasts, make strategic use of subtitles or transcripts if they are available. These tools are invaluable for following along and reinforcing your understanding, creating a crucial bridge between spoken and written English. A highly effective technique is to listen first without subtitles to test your raw comprehension, and then listen again with subtitles to clarify any missed words or phrases. This dual approach helps you reinforce new vocabulary and precisely understand how words are pronounced in natural, connected speech. Practice active listening. Don't just passively allow English sounds to wash over you. Instead, Actively engage with the language. Focus intently on the speaker's tone, their deliberate pauses, their phrasing, and their emotional delivery. Pay close attention to how they emphasize certain words, stress, and how the sentence structure subtly changes when they want to convey something particularly important or ask a question. Try to consciously imitate these specific aspects when you engage in your own speaking practice. Active listening is the undisputed key to enhancing both your listening and your speaking skills simultaneously. Practice listening to real conversations. The most authentic and effective way to learn how to speak naturally is by diligently listening to how people genuinely communicate in everyday conversations. Seek out podcasts, audio materials, or video content that feature spontaneous conversations between native speakers. This direct exposure will immerse you in common expressions, prevalent slang, and natural conversational patterns that are often not explicitly taught in textbooks, preparing you for true real-world interactions. The power of listening and speaking together. Unlocking fluency. By conscientiously focusing on both listening and speaking, you forge an incredibly powerful combination that can dramatically improve your overall fluency. Listening to the language and actively speaking it go hand in hand, creating a synergistic effect where each skill propels the other forward. When you hear more, you gain the confidence and accuracy to speak more effectively. And conversely, when you speak more, your brain becomes more attuned and accustomed to the intricate sounds and rhythms of the language, which in turn helps you understand it more profoundly when you hear it again. They are a truly dynamic pair, and by diligently practicing both skills in concert, you will unlock the ultimate key to achieving true, natural fluency in English. In conclusion, the powerful and undeniable connection between listening and speaking is absolutely fundamental to your success in the language learning process. Listening serves as your primary intake, allowing you to absorb the authentic sounds, natural rhythms, and inherent structures of the English language. Speaking, on the other hand, is your vital output, providing the crucial opportunity to actively apply everything you've learned in spontaneous, real-world conversations. Both skills are mutually reinforcing and are absolutely essential for becoming truly fluent and confident in English. By actively and consistently immersing yourself in English content, whether through engaging podcasts, dynamic conversations, captivating movies, or other diverse media, you are diligently training your brain to understand the language at a deeper, more intuitive level. This deep understanding, in turn, makes it infinitely easier to speak confidently, naturally, and with greater precision. Simultaneously, by diligently practicing speaking, you are putting your finely tuned listening skills to active work, enabling you to express yourself with clarity, effectiveness, and growing ease. Please, do not be discouraged if you find speaking challenging at first. This is a common, normal part of the journey. With regular, dedicated practice, unwavering patience, and a courageous willingness to embrace and learn from mistakes, you will undoubtedly see remarkable improvement in both your listening and your speaking abilities. Remember, fluency is not a race to a finish line, but a steady, rewarding process that unfolds over time. Every single step you take toward listening more intently and speaking more frequently brings you measurably closer to your ultimate goal. So, keep listening to diverse English content, Practice speaking as much as you possibly can, even if it's just to yourself, and implicitly trust that your skills will organically grow and flourish. The journey to fluency is a rich, transformative experience that will profoundly reward you with greater self-confidence, vastly improved communication capabilities, and a deeper, more authentic connection to the English language. You've absolutely got this. Keep practicing, keep pushing through those moments of doubt, and very soon you'll find yourself speaking English more effortlessly and understanding it with remarkable ease. Don't forget to connect with us. If this episode resonated with you, please hit that like button. It genuinely helps our channel reach more amazing English learners like you. Subscribe to English in Fluency for more transformative English lessons, and make sure to turn on all notifications so you never miss an episode with Alex. Share this episode with friends, classmates, or anyone you know who wants to unlock their English-speaking potential. We grow stronger together. And now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, which of these strategies will you try first to overcome your speaking block? Or do you have a unique tip that helps you speak with confidence? I love hearing your stories and insights. Thank you so much for being a part of the English in Fluency community. I am truly proud of your dedication and the incredible progress you're making. Believe in yourself, embrace every step of the journey, and know that your effort is paying off. Until next time, keep listening, keep speaking, and keep moving forward. Take care, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye, for now.